Hailing frequencies open, and welcome to Star Trek Discoverage, the live podcast that boldly goes into excruciating detail about this week's episode of Star Trek Discovery. I'm your host, Caliban, and thank God that Star Trek Discovery is taking a break on CBS All Access. I have a lot of Nash Bridges to get through. I'm joined on the show, as usual, by Ella Pearson. She's the co-host of the Generations Geek podcast on the Chronic Rift Network, which is at chronicrift.com. Welcome, Ella. Ella, it's finally available, your Alien episode. It's finally come out.
It's good.
Your Alien podcast is great. It's on Chronic Rift, as we said. And you guys talk about the original Alien. Do you think it stands up to today's standards of horror or sci-fi horror?
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Yeah. There's no David, though.
I do love Walter more than anything in the world,
or
but
Walter. I can never tell them apart.
think that Alien and Aliens especially both stand up way more than a lot of other movies.
Yeah. Also joining me on the show, he's a comedy writer, he's an actor, he's a podcaster, he's a stand-up, he's also an author. His book with Jimmy Hass called Toys for Cheap is available now. He's written and performed for The Nerdist, National Lampoon, Screen Junkies, and Crack.com. It's the man, the myth, the legend, Asterios Kokkinos. Welcome to the program.
Hey, what's going on? How you guys doing?
Yeah, we're doing good. Thanks for joining us. I always want to know, and I always ask, how did you come to Star Trek? When did you first become a fan of Trek?
It was just on TV.
Sure.
It was kind of like when I was a kid. I don't know. Well, okay, so I guess what's up is you've heard of Star Trek before, you've seen it, and you know it's like nerdy and dorky.
Yeah.
And when I'm a kid, that's not like cool. When I'm a kid, it's not like, oh yeah, dorks rule and get nerd power. It's like you shouldn't. Like I remember when I brought in a bunch of Star Trek books to donate to my school library, my whole class laughed at me. I mean, I still remember the moment where I was like, oh, this was a really big mistake. I brought in like 15 Star Trek The Next Generation episode novelizations.
Right.
To donate to my school library because we got like 5 points of extra credit per book we donated. And I was like, well, I've read quite a few of these. And these are the ones I'm willing to part with. This isn't even my whole collection. These are but dribblings from the Gleam and Glorious collection I have at home. And
Right.
And then, you know, so I was like, oh, it's not cool. But the thing is, it's Saturday. It's 3:00. What are you going to do?
Right.
Like, what else are you going to do? Go outside? Like, no, I'm not doing that.
I like that point.
So you want Star Trek?
Yeah, I like your point about how you don't really even have a choice. I mean, it's just kind of that what was it was on then, and so you watch it because you know it attracts you because you're a kid. I'm trying to think of like what the Bad Boys of sci-fi might have been back then. Like, oh no, I don't like that. I like Dune or Starship Troopers or something like that. Because I know I'm the same way. I just watched it because it was there. Sure.
Well, I mean, I also watched Babylon 5.
Okay.
But I mean, that's sort of like that's worse.
Star Trek fans look down on. Yeah, or Farscape.
That's
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
No, but you're not cool for watching that. I tried to watch. You know what? At least I'm not like those filthy Stargate fans with their dumb Stargate. Yeah, I'll
views
give
of
those
Asterios
swirlies.
do not represent the views of this program.
I tried to get it to Stargate. It's just like I can't.
There's just so much of it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it. But I mean, look, there's 52 years of Doctor Who. Although I'm not going to get into that either, to be honest. It's I have a lot of conflicting opinions.
Yeah, I can tell. Have you been enjoying Discovery so far?
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah.
Episodes 3 through 9 are fantastic.
Yeah, they really are.
I don't think I've ever seen either a worse pilot on its own, and then also a worse representation for what the show is going to be.
Yeah.
A worse Star Trek pilot or a worse pilot for like any TV show ever?
No, a pilot for any TV show ever, because you're like, well, I don't like this lead character. She just choked out Michelle Yeoh. Like, that's not cool. She choked out Michelle Yeoh because a hologram of someone who's not her dad told her to.
Right.
And then And then she it was it's just it's not great. The pilot to Discovery is real bad, but then episode 3, she's on that prison ship and there's a creepy captain and everyone's going to black alert and there's spores eating the ship and it gets real good real fast.
Yeah,
it's real good.
Yeah, I like what you said. I mean, we talked about that earlier on the show when we talked about the pilot, about how it doesn't seem very representational of the show at large. And this episode, more than any other episode, I think, is so tied into the ongoing narrative. Do you ever see a point where Discovery can break off and just become episodic, or is it just forever going to be tied to this kind of ongoing story?
Oh, we don't need it. Who needs an episodic show? We've got so many... We've got so many different series where it's like, we ran into this alien and they taught us that maybe being human means being a robot. Something to think about. Let's go somewhere else. It's look, we got episodic. Look, Doctor Who's episodic. We got episodic. I want to see a ship run by a madman that's leaping through dimensions. That's what I want.
I think you're going to get it. They're never going to go to the planet of the naked volleyballers or whatever.
You mean Risa?
Oh, yeah, maybe they're Risa.
Yeah, I think that isn't that where they play naked volleyball, Risa, the pleasure planet.
There's the one too where Wesley falls into the gardening thing, and then they're going to put him to death.
No.
Yeah, they're that's different. Time to die.
Well, look, don't step on the flowers. It's right there.
Yeah, it's ended.
It's right there. No, I'm sorry. That's not right. That's a different planet.
What's your favorite of the Trek series?
I mean, I got to go with Deep Space Nine because there are so many episodes of Deep Space Nine that I still think about to this day. That the episode where they bamboozle Romulan Ambassador Vreenak and coming over, and then they murder him,
right?
And use his murder to get the Romulans involved in the war, and that's cool.
Yeah,
episode where
Lorca approved, I think.
Yeah, I love it. And then of course, obviously, Lorca is just well, that guy is Section 31.
Yeah, he's a maniac. Oh yeah,
because black comm badges. Willingness to bend the rules around eugenics. Because if you think about it, Section 31, they're like, hey, we like you, Dr. Bashir. You got a real messed up brain. And it's it's the same thing with Discovery. They're like, we messed up this guy's brain, but it's effective.
Yeah.
Section 31, and then, obviously the episode where they all play baseball against that evil Romulan captain.
Yeah.
Do you remember that episode?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, good.
Take me out of the ball game.
Deep Space Nine. There's so much good Deep Space Nine, so I got to give it a DS9.
Okay. I think a lot of people would agree with you. Well, we've seen the mid-season finale tonight of Star Trek Discovery. I'm sure, as you guys know, the show is coming back on January 7th, and this show will be back then, too. I'm curious for your opinions, both of you. What do you think was behind the decision to bring the show back relatively fast, or for even it to take a break in the first place?
I wouldn't say that it's fast.
Well,
it's only 1 2/3 or maybe a half months as far as your your CBS All Access subscription goes. I've seen a lot of people saying, it's only 6-7 weeks. I'll keep it around until January. Then I'll cancel in March.
I assume that the reason they're okay, look, it's all in the can. This whole thing's in the can. This whole thing is in the can and it's edited. And if you don't think that's the case, then you're stupid. The reason they're doing this is because they're counting on us not canceling our subscriptions so they can make an extra month of revenue off of us without giving us content.
Sure, right, yeah.
It's exactly what Captain Lorca would do.
Yes, it's a calculated choice. I agree. Consequences be damned. Well, we've just watched the episode 9 of Star Trek Discovery, entitled Into the Forest I Go. We're here to break it down for you. As always, we're setting a course for the spoiler zone, so be warned. And the official synopsis for this week is bypassing Starfleet's orders. Lorca uses the USS Discovery's crew's ultimate asset, the ship itself, in an effort to end the war with the Klingons once and for all. And the show opens with Lorca making a decision to countermand his own orders, which I feel is always fun on the original series and on Next Generation, to violate your orders, damn our orders. But here it's kind it's a little dangerous. It doesn't feel so fun after knowing what we do about the history of some of the characters and definitely the trouble that Michael Burnham's got herself into. It feels a little different. So they...
Is
go ahead.
your other co-host here? Hello?
Ella, you there? She's thinking.
I'm shy.
She's absorbing.
Oh, no, that's okay. All right, well, then I'll jump in.
I'm listening very intently and thinking, getting ready to say something eventually.
Look, it's totally cool. Look, I'm not going to I just wanted to make sure that the Skype connection didn't drop off because I got terrible service. But anyway, yeah, you know what? How many times has this guy defied orders this season?
No
Is this
kidding.
like the second or third?
That Starfleet even knows about, yeah.
Right. I mean, honestly, because I feel like what they should have done is they should have saved it for this.
Okay.
Like, they do. Okay, let's think about this. They defy orders to go like save Sarek.
Yeah.
And that's cool. Yeah, you know what? They shouldn't have done the defy order. Like, it's like you got one of those this season.
Yeah, right. Also, his kind of, oh, sure, yeah, okay, that's fine, to somebody saying something that he doesn't like, and then he goes off and does something else about it. Like, they kind of hit that a couple times, too. Like, he doesn't go and rescue the Admiral in that one episode. And then this episode, as soon as Stamets is like, yeah, I'm good, I'm not going to jump anymore. And Jason Isaacs has got that grin. He's like, okay, that's fine. You know that's not. No, you're going to do what I say. And I will throw you into another universe if I have to.
Yeah, I was spooked by his attitude with Stamets for sure. Like, he was just like, well, he's been intense since day one, but just the way he was like, well, keep him alive until it's over, like.
Right.
Like to his husband, or I don't know if they're married, to his partner, like that's a lot.
Yeah, and he's got we see with Admiral Cornwall, she's like a psychologist or has training in counseling, and she's trying to tell him that there's things wrong with him. But it's just clear that he's completely sociopathic at this point. And I mean, in a fun way. I love Jason Isaacs, but he'll totally tell you whatever you want to hear and just kind of smile, and as soon as your back is turned, he's just going to go off and do what he wants anyway.
See, the interesting thing is that he's sociopathic, but in a way that gets results.
Yeah, well, yeah, sure.
So you don't know how to feel about the guy.
Yeah.
where it's kind of like, you know what? This guy, he's dangling Stamets's love of exploration in front of him. Like, he was saving that map for the right
he
moment.
had that in his pocket. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, exactly. Where he's just like, we may have a way to travel dimensions, but I'm gonna say this. I really need to convince you of something. But the thing is, what I expected to happen in the episode where the Admiral was kidnapped, I expected that Lorca was gonna have tipped off the Klingons and been like, hey, grab this girl.
Okay.
She's threatening my command. Get rid of her.
Sure.
Sure. It's like they didn't go they keep playing with Lorca's sociopathy where it's like he's a manipulator.
Yeah.
But he does want the war over. But does he want the war over for his own personal glory or because people died because he killed his whole crew? So he
yeah.
I love how they're dancing on that line with Lorca. Even today we don't know.
Right.
Did Lorca take them into that? Because the episode ends on a cliffhanger, and it's did Lorca take them there on purpose? We don't know with this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And we don't know if it seems like you said, that they're reluctant to really pull the trigger on him being full villain, but it might turn out that he had some reason, it might have been self-serving or selfish, but there might be some reason that he needs them to go there or whatever. Because otherwise it just seems random that he's like, how does it serve him to go, oh, you think you're going to be done with this? You're not done with this. And then hits, some combination on his keypad. So there might be some reason for this. One thing that I really enjoyed is that this is the first time in a long time that I can think of that I've been watching a good old Star Trek cliffhanger, in the form of a Best of Both Worlds or a Descent or something. Now, we don't have a whole summer to wait like we used to, but, I'm waiting to see what's going to happen when they come back.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and it's also it's also very exciting the way that they're playing with, like, you know, it's you know, old flavors in new ways. I mean, you know, again, just to jump to the ending, they're lost in space now, which is the entire premise of Voyager.
Right.
So it's kind of cool how at the end of it, it's like, is this show going to become Voyager now? Is it going to be like Quantum Leap? You don't know with this show. You better pay your $7 a month plus commercials to find out.
I wouldn't be mad if it was like Interdimensional Voyager, honestly.
That's like Sliders.
Yes.
Oh, speaking of shows that aren't as cool as Star Trek.
Yes. Sliders, especially in the later seasons when, what do they have, the daggers? What are they called?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Come on. Eventually, on Sliders, the Makos, eventually some group of aliens is colonizing other dimensions.
Right, right.
And so, like, they're not just sliding to get home. They're, like, sliding to stop an evil race of alien militant sliders.
Right. Well, it's just like in Quantum Leap where they had the evil leaper.
But see, there was only one evil leaper. It's pretty, very attractive lady, too. But
right.
But it's like there's a whole race of evil leapers and slide. They really raise the stakes on a show that is bad.
In this episode, they're trying to break the Klingon's cloak, which, you know, I like the cloaking device, but I feel like it's the gift that keeps on punching you in the face because tactically, you know, just in the world of the show, it's clearly a big advantage, but they're always finding some way to overcome this thing. And it seems like in every iteration of Trek, they've had they look for the exhaust or they just look out the window. You can see the Predator effect. So
That's true.
It's a little disappointing that they go back to that one more time, but when they do it, they go all the way. They have to do 133 jumps or whatever it is to triangulate the position. So they're certainly not skimping as far as the effort in trying to break this cloak. And it's so cool. Once they do, they let the ship have it. They blow the ship of the dead completely away, which I thought was really awesome. And it was a weird moment because usually you would get, like in a Star Trek movie, you get that fire and they blow up the Klingon ship and it's really exciting. But this is played for a lot of different emotions. Like it all takes place in slow motion and some of the characters are kind of looking at each other and realizing things about themselves and realizing things about each other. All the while, this gigantic explosion is on the view screen in front of them.
I thought it was so cool, like the way that they used the jump drive to attack the ship from every angle all at once. Something that I think Discovery is going to get a lot of credit for is finally using teleportation the way that like nerds have always dreamed of doing it.
Sure.
We're like, because there's always like some kind of weird MacGuffin reason that you can't like hyperspace jump twice.
Yeah, right.
And it's like with this one, it's like, no, if you really like push a guy, if
you've got spores,
map,
yeah, right.
Like he'll jump 133 times and like shoot a missile each time.
Right.
That was neat. Didn't they use their they transported a guy out into the middle of space. Like that's something we've always wanted to see in Star Trek, just like them use the transporter tactically, like literally as a weapon and not just as a conveyance. They teleported a photon torpedo onto a ship and it's like, well, yeah, that's what you should do. If you can teleport things, you should be teleporting bombs like straight into warp cores. Like all the stuff that like regular nerds have thought of. They're like finally like, we'll use that stuff.
It totally feels like that. Like, I mean, a lot of the people in the writers' room, you know, have storied careers in Trek or in sci-fi writing, but it does feel like a lot of Trek nerds going, well, you know, what have we always wanted to see? Like, what do we want to get in there? You know, what hasn't happened yet?
I think also though, like part of that might be just like Lorca's character, because as cool as it is to like transport a bomb onto another ship, I don't think it's something like Kirk would do necessarily, just because I feel like he's a little bit more honorable than Lorca.
Yeah.
Yeah. But still very cool nonetheless. Definitely like peak weaponized spore drive.
Yeah. In the episode, we get the chance to see Michael Burnham return, of course, to the Ship of the Dead and also get her chance to, well, I guess Starfleet wouldn't say revenge. Let's just say balance the equation in terms of bringing justice to the people who she feels were responsible for her captain's death. And so we get a nice Klingon fight with pruning shears or something. They've got these like space pruning shear type weapons they're attacking each other with.
I know. Where were the batleths?
Yeah, I know. I thought that was a little strange omission, but it's still pretty cool. I always think it's somebody else was talking about this, so I apologize if I'm ripping off some other podcast or something that I like, but it just seems like small. Michael Burnham, very resourceful, very well, in shape, versus 7-foot tall Klingon. These humans always seem to hold their own against these like monstrous, beings. Whereas on the original series, some guy with a horn on his head or something like that, and in a monkey gorilla costume would be like, "Oh no, we run away from that guy." So it's interesting to see her get some good licks in, but I'm not sure. I mean, she definitely wasn't winning the fight by the time she got beamed out, but she lasted quite a while.
And she has the Vulcan martial arts behind her too, though.
That's true.
That's the thing. She's got the Vulcan foo. A, she's got that, and then B, they do the thing where like it's like, oh, he's playing with her.
Oh yeah, sure.
And it's like, I thought that was very, very well done. The way because the thing is, look, if she had won, I would have been like, well, this strains credulity.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But like they gave us like enough heroism, and she's only doing it to buy time, which is like another cool thing she's doing.
Right, it is like, sacrificial. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and then like right before she leaves, she gets the captain's comm badge. Oh, who by the way they like ate.
Yeah,
that's like I wish they. It's like I didn't need to know that. Like they ate Michelle Yeoh.
Not great. And there's a part too. She gets the comm badge, which I thought was great. I realized. So they're on the ship. They have to put these things in there so Discovery can scan the signals. They're very. I know they don't have to be there for long, I guess, but they're very conspicuous. They have like a huge Starfleet insignia on top of them. It's like put a tarp over them or something. You know what I mean? Stick it under a bed or something. But they go in there, and then Tyler has like his freak out, his sort of PTSD thing, and then suddenly we realize that it's like Michael's all alone, and she's got to go to the bridge of the Klingon ship, and it's like, the last time we had that, it wasn't that great. But I like the fact that she gets to kind of complete her arc, and this time, going against orders and going off on her own is the right choice. Whereas that's kind of what got her in trouble before. Like she finds the right situation to be herself in.
She was amazing during that scene. I was so in awe of Sonequa and just like Michael's character in general during this episode, especially when she was like fighting on the bridge. She seemed so like deadly.
Do you think that she's really, I mean, she has totally turned around. That was going to be my question. But do you think that she's going to go forward like this, more human, more emotional? She seems to have a connection with Tyler, and she can take orders now. Do you think that she's going to keep going in this vein?
I'm hoping that she like finds a balance.
Yeah.
Between like what she learned from Sarek and what she learned from Giorgio. And I have said this, I think, like multiple times before about how I don't like how everyone's like pushing her away from like her Vulcan quote heritage unquote.
Sure.
And I think it's really nice to see her in these episodes where she's very like she's negotiating with the Klingons and she's very like straight faced and Vulcan. And then, but she also really easily recognizes that Tyler like needs to talk to her.
Yeah. That's a big.
And
that's
so
a
I
big
think that's really
for
sweet
her,
too.
I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Asterios, what about you? Do you like the character of Michael Burnham?
See, like I don't know. Here's what I like. I like the actress.
Yeah.
I like. I forget her last name. What is it? Sonequa what?
Martin Green.
Yeah. I like Sonequa Martin Green. I thought she was fantastic in this episode.
Yeah.
Like, when it comes to, like, what is the character of Michael Burnham, I don't know if you could summarize what it is in line. Like, all right, Commander Riker, romantic explorer, romantic explorer, Data, logical but is always struggling to be human.
Yeah.
Captain Picard, like, a representative of what it means to be a true diplomat. Like with Michael Burnham, it's like what's the one line you give me for her character? Or with Starbuck, it's just like brash, bold, prone to action.
Sure.
I don't know what the one line that you could give me with her character is, but it doesn't matter because it's like that actress is doing a good job, and she's really good in these episodes. So I don't know. I know that's a muddled answer.
It's acceptable. And I think the fact that, like you said, I mean, we're just going to keep going on with this story and the storyline forever. I think we'll get there. I think it's kind of the opposite of the episodic shows we've had before, where you have to know the 3 or 4 lines on the on Commander Riker's dossier, because when another writer comes in and writes about the planet of the naked volleyballers or whatever, we got to know how he reacts to it. But hopefully everybody's getting to sort of build character as they go. I like how I really like that scene with Tyler and Burnham at the end, which is a very emotional scene. It's a more emotion, I think, than we've had up to this point. And he tells her about his Klingon ex-girlfriend. Although she kind of brings it up in a weird way. She's like, who is that person to you? It's kind of like, who's your Klingon girlfriend?
Yeah, that was really weird. That scene played out very strange to me.
Yeah, well, it could have gone in a really weird direction, but I think it instead went in a real sort of touching direction.
Well, just one thing is that I feel like it's kind of like, I don't really like how they're leaning into I don't really want her to save him from his PTSD. You know what I mean? I don't want their relationship to be the factor that makes him feel okay again, if that makes sense.
Love's gonna
I don't want her to be a manic pixie dream girl.
Sure. Asterios, go ahead.
I thought that was interesting where he's like, well, now I found peace with you, because it's like, well, that's not good.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, if your way of dealing with the horrible trauma that one person caused you is to run into someone else's arms.
Yeah.
That's not
okay. Wow, I'm glad we're on the same page.
Yeah, I see. I thought that was interesting because I hear that line and I'm like, well, that's very unhealthy.
Yeah.
And then it's like, as we see, later, it's like, oh, yep, this guy's not better at all. And like he's the Manchurian Klingon candidate, or whatever's going to end up happening with this dude. It's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, well, that leads into our weekly part where we talk about our
I was going to say.
talk. Yeah, Ella's waiting for this one.
It's time to put the tinfoil hats on.
Yep, put them on. Pull them on. So, Asterios, you know the theory about Shazad Latif's character, right?
Yeah, I know one of them that he's like a Klingon that has been mutilated to look like a human.
Right. And we see... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, wait. No, you tell me.
Well, I was just going to say, we see scenes in this that I think are presented, something is happening to him, but I think they're presented in enough of a obscure kind of way that you could interpret them as the very painful surgery it would take to look like a human. And don't get me wrong, I don't believe in this or disbelieve in it. I'm a reporter. I'm reporting the facts here. But I think it's curious how they keep seeming to kind of swerve towards and then away, and I'm not sure if they're just building, if this is an old school show, they'd be just building up evidence for the future when this is revealed. But since everybody is so smart as a viewer, and there's the internet now I feel like they're almost teasing the audience. Like last week we had Saru go, "You're not what you seem to be," but it was referring to the fact that his intentions about keeping Saru occupied, that's what he was referring to. Or now he sees the Rel and it's PTSD over his experiences. Or is it some reaction to this conditioning? I like how ambiguous it is, but man, they love to just keep hitting that button.
Well, the interesting thing that I think they did that gave credence to the theory is they put those life sign masking devices, those little Tony Stark cores, on, and it was like, this will make everyone think you're a Klingon. And I was like, well, I bet what happens is that thing gets shot, and it turns out that he doesn't need it.
Right.
Because his life signs are Klingon. Yeah. And it's like, there's evidence of, in the trouble with tribbles.
Right.
They use tribbles to determine that these humans are really secretly Klingons that have been like, genetically engineered or plastic surgery or whatever. So like,
right.
There's a lot of evidence for it in the canon. I don't know. It's interesting that we get to keep guessing that every week. I'm glad that it's ambiguous.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's almost like an ARG game. Like it is kind of fun to keep guessing about whether it's true or not.
I'm mostly just frustrated.
or it's really frustrating.
I'm gonna be like so mad if like it's true. Honestly, like I don't want it. Like I need like a Klingon Tyler to get like very far away from me if that's going to be the case.
They're really leaning into it too, especially with him getting so close to Burnham. Although
oh my God.
we got another first this week. We got Klingon boobs this week. That's something I never thought I'd get to say.
I mean, they had the like holes in their armor before in the like in the other seasons. They had like windows.
Sure. No, I mean I know they're mammals, but I mean, we saw a lot more than we've usually seen.
Yeah, it was just as uncomfortable as you would expect, I think.
It
right?
It was a weird choice too, because we're supposed to think that this is, it's presented as an encounter that is not fully consensual on one side. And I'm not saying it looked super sexy, but it was shot, in the sort of visual vocabulary of a kind of, sex scene on, late night TV or whatever. So I just thought that was a kind of a weird choice.
Yeah.
Something, and I'm guessing that we're going to move on to the. I just want one last thing about this is, there haven't been a lot of popular representations of male, like, abuse.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
In the media, and so I think that this is kind of like, it's, Star Trek is always pushing the boundaries, and this is another way that they're pushing them, and it's really cool. And I think it's something that people should really be paying attention to because, like we've seen a million storylines where it's like, oh, Counselor Troy was mentally sexually abused.
Right.
Like that happened 4 times.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, this is kind of the first time, in a major network show that we're seeing this from a male perspective, and so it's just interesting and it's worth noting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes him super sympathetic as well. Again, like I said, like I don't really know or care if it's true or not. It's fun to speculate, but I do find myself really cheering for Tyler as a character. So if they do pull that rug out, I don't know how I'm going to feel, but right now, I am rooting for the character.
Me too. Those moments where he actually confronts her are so moving. Even when he, like this episode, the first time he saw her, he didn't, obviously he reacted, but he didn't really do anything as drastic as, like, when they escaped from the prison ship in the first place. But it's still just, like, so, like, intense.
Yeah. Well, it's time to check out our threat ganglia. Who do you guys think is going to that big holodeck in the sky in future episodes? Who is slated for death soon? I think last week you had Stamets on the board, and you got pretty close this week.
Yeah, when this episode started, in the middle of this episode, I was pretty much convinced he was going to die.
Oh yeah,
and I was like, bitter.
Yeah, when he was walking away or with Lorca, I thought, oh, he's just going to explode and like coat the insides of that chamber.
Like I thought he was gone for sure. And when they kept having he and is it Colbert,
yeah.
They kept having like sweet goodbyes, and I was like, don't do this to me.
Yeah,
please. Let gay couple live. Like
we'll go see La Boheme.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But I think I feel a little bit better just because I feel like he obviously has a lot more plot to get through, at least before they kill him, if they do. So, like, I have no idea. I think he's in the most danger, probably, honestly. Yeah, either him or Tyler.
What about you?
I think that the character to kill is the Doctor. Yeah. Because he's just, like, so perfect. And, like, he's, like, nice. He's awesome. He cares. He's loving. And it's just like, and the engineer Stamets is the most interesting character, and he's already kind of like losing his mind. it's very important for him to like have a functional mind in order to operate the ship.
Right.
So the way to kind of, unfortunately, like the way to level up his character is to kill his love interests.
Yeah, that's a common trope, I think, in this kind of fiction.
It would be lazy as hell. Like, I'm not saying I want it to happen, but like, out of all the characters on the board right now, like the one with the least amount of development left is the Doctor.
Yeah. Is him and Robot Girl on the bridge? I haven't seen a lot from her. Do you guys think that they are? So where are they at the end of the show here? Are they in the mirror universe? Are they in like an alternate universe? I know that it's already slipped that the mirror universe is supposed to feature at some point on the show.
I'm like a little hesitant to believe that they would have the mirror universe play like a really big role in the plot of the show, just because I feel like they're trying to be so like new and different. So I was kind of feeling like they were in like some weird like spore dimension, like we've seen before, like with Mir Stamets like walking away, and then when the ship does that creepy thing where it like doubles, I think it's something weird with the spores where it's like there's two, like it's the upside down.
It's the upside down, right?
Yeah.
What about you, Asterios?
I think that they are in the mirror universe. I think that they're at the exact coordinates of Starbase 46, but in a mirror universe where like the Federation and the humans are being attacked by like a third species like the Borg or the Breen.
Oh, okay.
Or the Romulans or something. I think that they're, because it's like don't bring up alternate dimensions at the beginning of the episode. It's like Chekhov's alternate dimension gun. It's like you don't bring up like parallel universes if we're not going to end up in one.
Right.
And but I don't know I don't know where they go from here. I mean, the interesting thing is that they're going to very clearly have an internal threat from the evil Klingon mind manipulator, as well as an external threat. How do they get home? So, I think that we're probably going to end up with one of those like Die Hard in space episodes where the ship's on lockdown and what's his name, the security guys, he's been brainwashed and blah blah blah.
That sounds good.
I think that's what's going to happen. I think that's what's next. Because and honestly, it's because those episodes are cheap.
Yeah, for sure.
Something that I was thinking is, they spent a lot of money on CG in this episode. And then when I saw the previews, it's like, okay, well, having an episode where there's a Klingon lost on the ship and all the lights are out and they've all got to hunt down this Klingon and the Klingon has secretly turned the security guy, like, that'll save you some money.
Right.
I'm like stressed out listening to you describe it. I'm not ready.
Sorry.
Yeah, the graphics and the CGI in this episode were great. And Asterios, you mentioned before, the ship kind of jumping around, and it was awesome. It's like they've got their own cheat code now, so they can just flip around and destroy the boss really easily. And then, of course, in the upcoming episode, it looks tense, but yeah, it looks like it is. Little white contacts over Anthony Rapp's eyes are probably a lot cheaper than space battle CGI, so they'll probably be saving money like that.
Yep, exactly. Take him out of the equation for an episode. They're lost in space. That it's like you save some money that way.
Yeah, and it's something you always have to do. Well, as we wrap up here, I'd like to ask you guys where you think that the story is heading when it comes back next year. They go off. They're in another dimension, or they're somewhere else. They have an episode or two of a Voyager type thing where they're trying to get back, and then what happens after that?
I'm worried that they kill Stamets getting back.
Yeah.
Or there's two Stamets and one is like creepy.
Or like a mirror one? Or like a time jump.
Yeah,
one.
like The Shining.
You're right.
He's just like they're both standing there.
I want to see the tardigrade come back. They just let that guy go.
Too.
And that's it, huh?
That's how they get out of that universe.
A tardigrade with a goatee shows up?
No. Their tardigrade comes and saves them.
Oh, okay.
To pay back Michael Burnham for setting the tardigrade free, and the tardigrade's like, I owed you one.
Right.
Like,
wow, I would cry.
You've heard it here first.
That's what's going to happen because that tardigrade exists in like a 4-dimensional snowflake.
Sure, it's not
theoretical blah blah bling blah blue.
And they all meet in the center of the woods or whatever it was that Stamets said.
Oh yes, exactly.
Right. So he's going to the water bear picnic. Done. It's done. So anyway, I guess on that, we should probably wrap it up. That's it for our show. Thanks for joining us, listeners. If you like what you hear, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at EISTPod for updates and to get notified when new episodes of both Enterprising Individuals, our main show, and Discoverage are released. You can tweet to us on the show by using the hashtag Discoverage or email us at eistpod@gmail.com. Also, while you're on the internet there, why not head to your listening platform of choice and subscribe to the show and give us a rating and a review if you think of it, because it really helps us out. And stop by our Patreon page at patreon.com, EISTPod. And if you like the show, tell a friend. Join us January 7th for the return of Star Trek Discovery. We'll be talking about the 10th episode of Discovery, Despite Yourself, which is how I usually get the shows done, despite myself. Ella, thanks for joining me on the show. Where can people find you online, Ella?
You can find me at generationsgeek.com, and you can download our podcast on iTunes through the Chronic Rift. Like we talked about, we just released our Alien podcast. So coming up will be Aliens pretty soon. And we have recorded a Thor Ragnarok podcast. But it was a lot longer than our normal podcast, so we'll see when it comes out. But it's in the works.
Okay, people check that out. And Asterios, where can people find you on the interwebs?
They can find me at twitter.com/Asterios. Or you can listen to my podcast, Science Friction, which is a sci-fi comedy game show where comedians earn points if their opinions match my opinions.
It's kind of like
you can.
It's kind of like apples to Asterios.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. I'm always right. And you can hear that show if you go to sciencefriction.fun. That's sciencefriction.fun, or find it on iTunes.
Awesome. And do you have any dates coming up that you want to talk about?
Honestly, I'm not doing a ton of stand-up just because I do so much online now with podcasts and videos and live streams and things like that.
Sure.
But if you follow me on Twitter, you'll always see what I'm up to.
Sounds great. Well, thanks again for joining me, and thank you to the listeners for joining us, and we are signing off. This is Caliban for Asterios and Ella saying, live long and prosper.